The brand new boss relic Dark Knight of the Miasma did this release today alongside the Everdark Caligo boss, and I do believe that this is a very good boss relic. In fact, compared to all the other Everdark boss relics, I think this one might be the best one, which honestly really isn't saying much, but the reasons being is that the perks are all just really good. The Frostbite in Vicinity Conceal Self does allow you to be invisible when Frostbite is procced nearby, which not only does this actually prevent enemies from spotting you, but it also does break enemy aggro as well. So you can be in the middle of a fight and then proc Frost, and then the enemy will just completely lose aggro, which actually is a bit different compared to some of the other like stealth-based skills or spells that you see in the game. And the benefits of that is that it can help you reposition. You can maybe heal up if you need to, or charge up a very powerful attack, because if you didn't know, when enemies are unaware of you, they take about 20% more damage. Now, once you do hit them, the enemies are going to be alerted. So it's not like the entire time you are invisible, it's going to be like a 20% damage boost, but it can be a bunch more damage and some more stance damage as well. It also does come with the Frost Infusion perk, which isn't specific to this boss relic. You can actually find this with any type of relic in the game. And this one is okay. I'll talk about this one more in a bit when I do compare it to the Chilling Mist perk. And lastly, it does come with improved physical damage negation, which this perk is exclusive to this one boss relic. You cannot find it on any other relic in the game. And it is a 10% physical damage negation boost, which is honestly fantastic because 90% of the things in the game are just doing physical damage. Now, people are obviously going to go ahead and look at this relic and then compare it to the regular Caligo boss relic, which they naturally should. And that one is probably the best relic in the entire game. And you might look at the fact that it is going to give you a damage boost and be like, this thing is completely trash. But honestly, it actually is a lot closer than you think. Like, they're obviously very similar. One's going to give you the invisibility on Frost. They're both going to actually have a way to proc Frost, but the regular one is going to give you a 10% damage boost against a Frostbite afflicted enemy, and the other one is just going to give you a 10% physical damage negation boost. Now, for a good chunk of the players that don't really have problems like dying or losing a bunch of their expeditions, the extra boost to your damage is going to be a lot more attractive. However, I do see that this relic would get a lot more play once the hard mode expeditions do roll out. Because in those hard mode expeditions, enemies are probably going to be hitting a lot harder, where you do want to end up going with the relic that is going to give you some more survivability. Because this relic right here is going to give you access to turn invisible, but it's not like you're going to be invisible the entire time. You're still like inevitably going to get hit, and with this relic equipped, it's not going to hit that hard. And even then, outside of these hard mode expeditions that are yet to come out, there still are going to be some reasons to actually use the Everdark version. One would be that if you end up fighting an enemy immune or like really resist the frostbite, this is not going to really be doing anything for you. And also another thing to note, if you are playing in a team, there is a very big chance that one of your teammates do have access to fire damage. And if they hit the boss with fire damage, it's going to completely remove the frostbite. And in that case, you're just not benefiting off the relic. But in most other cases, like the actual damage value that you can gain out of this is just too good to pass up. Like the chunk percentage damage that you gain by proccing the frost, the additional 15% debuff that frostbitten enemies just take, the additional 10% debuff that this relic gives you, and the potential 20% damage boost that you also end up getting when fighting an unaware enemy. All these things just culminate together to just be a bunch more damage, and it can be really good. Now, the other difference to this relic is obviously going to be one is going to come with Chilling Mist, and the other one is going to come with a Frost Infusion. And there are going to be some pros and cons to both. Now, Chilling Mist on paper might have seemed like the obvious and better option because it is going to give you access to Frostbite without giving you a damage penalty, because if you didn't know, the status effect infusions do decrease your damage by roughly 15%. And also, like, the status effect infusions don't really add much status build up to the weapon. Like in the instance of the frostbite, it only adds 35 frostbite to the weapon, which for a comparison to the cold infused weapons that you find in the game, or things like the Darkwind Greatsword or the Frozen Needle, they're going to be getting like twice as much frostbite as you would with this like relic infusion. So instead of proccing frost in like 3 to 4 hits, it might take about like 6 to 8 hits. And it is going to be a lot more noticeable when you are using this with like larger types of weapons. Like if you were to pair this with the Wilder or the Raider, I think these Frost Infusions aren't really that good. But one other benefit that the Frost Infusion has over Chilling Mist is that Chilling Mist is going to take up a weapon skill slot. And for certain characters that you want to be able to use your starting weapon and guarantee like a really good weapon skill, you can't really do that. Now, for the most part with this relic, I end up just like having it infused with my starting weapon. I use Chilling Mist to start off the boss fight, and then probably end up switching to another high damaging weapon, and then I end up getting the damage boost from Frost, and the damage boost from this relic, and then like the invisibility damage boost too. But for certain characters, I like to be able to guarantee certain weapon skills. Like for the Duchess, I always run Hoarfrost Stomp, and in which the Chilling Mist Ashura is going to be useless, and the attack power when facing frostbite afflicted enemies perk can actually be found on other relics. So if I have like the perfect RNG relics, then this entire relic is pretty much useless to me. And another example, if I actually wanted to play the Executor and I wanted to guarantee things like Unsheath, which is an amazing skill, or Seppuku, which actually is a build that I have been running a lot more recently and have been enjoying a lot, I can't actually use the Chilling Mist setup. Now, obviously for most Executor builds, you probably end up using the Poison Infusion with the Sentient Pest boss relic, and you might as well just pair it alongside the Caligo boss relic and have 3 different status effects going on at once and all these damage boosts. Like, it's kind of insane. But with like almost perfect RNG with the Executor, the Seppuku build might end up being better. And once like the hard mode expeditions roll around, I might end up resorting to actually using this boss relic right here. And then even then, outside of those 2 characters, there are still some others that don't even benefit off Chilling Mist at all. Someone like the Revenants, you can't actually use Chilling Mist. Someone like the Iron Eye, you can't actually infuse your bow with Chilling Mist. Now, even then, for the Iron Eye, I probably still wouldn't really care to use this relic, because half of it is actually being able to turn invisible when proccing Frost on a nearby enemy, and then the Iron Eye is most likely proccing Frost at a distance, so you're not even going to be able to turn invisible. So for me, I definitely feel like I'll end up using this Everdark relic a lot more than the regular relic, because this relic does come with a specific and exclusive perk in the physical damage negation that you can't find anywhere else. Whereas for like the regular Caligo boss relic, you can actually find these bottom 2 perks you can find on pretty much any relic. So it's really only the invisibility that's going to be like the biggest thing here. And the only time that I'm actually ever using this boss relic right now is when I'm doing no hit runs, when I'm trying to be like really stealthy and like avoid enemy aggro. That's pretty much the only time that I would use this. So I kind of imagine myself using this more when I end up playing the hard mode expeditions. And if I end up wanting to play more into that safer type of playstyle, I might as well double down and use this boss relic that gives me the damage negation too. Because myself, I already have a whole bunch of really good relics with some pretty decent RNG that have things like attack power up when facing a frostbite afflicted enemy. So the character that I'm most likely to use this with would be the Duchess, and I probably like slap it onto like this build right here, where I just get a whole bunch of damaging boosting stuff. I have the Hoarfrost Stomp to proc the Frost more reliably, and then I have the better survivability. But even then, I end up seeing myself using this with like this particular Executor build. I might end up even using it with someone like the Revenant, and maybe even the Guardian, who knows. We'll see what it's like when it does end up coming around. Maybe I do use it, maybe I don't, but I still think it is going to be very beneficial to those players that aren't really like that good at the game or have that much experience and you're still like dying throughout your expeditions. Maybe having that extra bit of damage negation and way to proc invisibility is going to be really good. And also, obviously, it is a completely different color as well. Like one is green, one is yellow. It's all going to be like dependent on your build and your RNG as to which one you end up going with sometimes. But yeah, that's pretty much everything that I wanted to talk about in this one. It was like just a whole bunch of yapping. Just wanted to share my thoughts. If you actually did want to see my thoughts about like the actual boss itself, I thought it was like kind of mid, I'm not going to lie. It was pretty much the exact same fight with like slight bit different like color. Honestly, out of all like the Everdark bosses, it was probably like the most uninspired one. Like I honestly even enjoyed the Everdark Augur fights more than I enjoyed this Caligo fights because at least it was different. But I still do appreciate that like most Night Lord bosses do cover like a separate like aesthetic and a different type of style and gameplay aspect. So not really mad at the Caligo boss fight in general. I'm kind of just wish that it was like a bit more different, like how all the other Everdark bosses were. But yeah, if you actually wanted to see my reaction or me fighting the bosses for the first time, you can just go follow me on Twitch. I actually did it there. You can go check out the VOD. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this one, and I'll catch you guys around. See yous!